Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're actually diving into a massive paradigm shift in the architecture of artificial intelligence. For the past few years, the entire tech industry has been racing in exactly one direction, building the absolute biggest brain possible. But we might be on the verge of a huge pivot. The next great leap in AI might not be about building a bigger brain at all, but about building a better team.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Rethinking AI Model Size.
So I want you to consider this question for a second because it completely flips the prevailing bigger is always better narrative on its head. Right now, the standard operating procedure is just to throw more data, more compute, and way more money into singular massive systems. But what if the future of AI is not one giant model, but many smaller models working together? It's a completely different way of conceptualizing machine intelligence.
We're talking about a fundamental structural shift here. The old paradigm was entirely focused on building larger and much more expensive large language models, systems that take astronomical resources just to boot up. But this new paradigm, it favors agility. It's all about connecting multiple, compact AI models into a collaborative network. We're moving away from those massive, expensive monoliths toward a collective, really dynamic, interconnected ecosystem.
Okay, let's talk about the number 10 billion. In this new framework, these collaborative networks rely on connecting models that sit strictly under the 10 billion parameter mark. And in modern AI, that is incredibly lean. It means we aren't chained to warehouse-sized supercomputers anymore. These components are highly manageable, infinitely more efficient, and they could completely democratize how we run AI, eventually letting really robust systems run locally on your everyday devices instead of on massive cloud server farms.
Moving right along to Section 2, Collaborative Intelligence Networks.
Now, here is the really crucial point. These small models don't just mash together into some new giant blob. Each model stays completely independent. They don't change their weights, they don't require constant, expensive retraining to fit together, and they absolutely do not merge their parameters. They stay discrete and sharp, communicating seamlessly without ever losing their individual structural identity.
Honestly, think of this network like a specialized team of human experts. If you hand a complex problem to this network, the task is delegated instantly. Step 1, a model acts as the project manager to plan the approach. Step 2, a model hyper-specialized in logic reasons through it. Step 3, a completely different model steps in to actually write the code. Step 4, a dedicated fact-checker reviews the work. And finally, Step 5, a verifier makes sure the result perfectly matches the initial goal. It is basically a perfectly orchestrated relay race.
Which brings us to Section 3, the power of coordination.
The core philosophy of this whole shift boils down to this single idea. The power comes from coordination, not size. And that's a huge deal. It proves that high bandwidth, efficiency, precise communication, and just pure teamwork can absolutely outmatch sheer brute force compute. We are officially entering an era of working smarter, not just building bigger. And this approach elegantly solves so many of the glaring problems of giant models. First off, it's totally modular, which makes it incredibly easy to upgrade. Like, if a groundbreaking coding model is released tomorrow, you literally just swap out the coder. No need to retrain a trillion parameters. It's drastically cheaper to run, it's way more fault-tolerant, so if one node fails, your whole system doesn't crash. Every piece is a hyper-specialist, and critically, it's scalable across totally different hardware systems. You don't need a centralized server farm because the workload is just elegantly distributed.
And finally, Section 4, Distributing Future Intelligence.
So, what does this all mean for us? It means we are finally moving away from the concept of a single, omniscient AI brain trapped in a server box. In this new model, intelligence becomes distributed across many machines, many experts, and crucially, many different perspectives. It essentially mimics how human society actually solves our hardest problems, right? Not through a single omniscient genius, but through a decentralized web of diverse specialists sharing their unique insights.
Because of this, the entire tech industry needs to fundamentally change the question it's trying to answer. The old breakthrough was an engineering challenge of brute scale. How do we build a bigger model? But the next breakthrough is entirely an orchestration challenge. The question is now, how do we make many small models think together? It demands a completely different engineering mindset, shifting our obsession from raw power over to synergy.
How do we make many small models think together? I'll leave you with that, because the researchers, developers, and companies who can best answer this question are absolutely going to define the next great leap in artificial intelligence. The era of the giant brain is peaking, but the era of the network is just beginning. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on this massive shift.